I've lived for many years. I'm going to do an update on what's going on with the war. Things in Israel last night were not so bad. Hamas has still got missile launch capability. Last night, and yesterday, they hit Ashdod and Ashkelon, which are right up at the northern tip of Gaza, right near there. And the devastation has been pretty severe. With many rockets. Not hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, but they send volleys, maybe 30, 50. It's a mystery why they can still keep going after all this bombing, but they're living in tunnels and underground and stuff like that, so the bombs don't get to them, and then they probably have missile launchers stashed in there or something. I don't know. These launchers are pretty portable. They look like a little tripod thing, or basically a stand with a pipe leaning on it at an angle. So they could carry these things around, and they might have, I don't know how many of them. They're not very hard to make. So what it looks like is going to happen is starting maybe 8 or 12 hours ago, Israel was dropping leaflets in Gaza, wholesale amounts of them, telling the people that Hamas is using you as a human shield. You got 24 hours, get away from the north, go south in Gaza. We don't want to hurt you civilians. They're using you as a human shield. Hamas comes out with a statement that says, no, the Gazan people would rather die here than leave. Well, see, the actual leaders of this Hamas are currently in the country called Qatar, or Qatar, which is by the Persian Gulf. And they're living in, 5-star hotels. They have private jets, and they do, and stuff like that. And they have mansions in Gaza. We're talking, 8, 10,000 square foot places. Quite elaborate. So they're running the war in the lap of luxury. On my Telegram channel, I put up a picture of one of the leaders sitting in what appears to be the gym of the hotel on an exercise bicycle while he's running the war. So this is what we're dealing with, Even Hitler stayed in Germany, I mean, come on, You need to understand the $6 billion of released terrorist funds that Biden looked like he gave to Iran. Okay, let's correct this and let's understand. I believe it was a mistake for Biden to do this. He believes it was a mistake. And what actually happened is the funds wound up in a Qatar bank, and America froze the funds again. Iran is not getting the $6 billion. That's the story we're being told. Do I think it's true? Yeah, I do. I think it's true. Now, could it be a lie? We could always dip into conspiracy theories, but anyway, Biden is obviously going back on what he did, and that's the important thing. Okay? Now, we think that money was used by them to support Hamas and Hezbollah, but that we don't know. And they, in spite of the sanctions, still managed to sell oil to certain countries, and they get their money. They're using the BRICS, B-R-I-C-S system, and they trade oil for cash with the countries in the BRICS system, which is now maybe 9 or 10 or something like that. And they get paid in local currency, so they don't have to use the US dollar. So the SWIFT system is not necessary, and they can bypass sanctions. Doing my morning job. As you know, the dogs are on alert, so anybody who walks near the house. They but many subscribers have told me that this is a behavior that I should just leave them alone, and I think the neighbors like it. Okay. If they bark while we're doing the broadcast to interfere with it, I'll try to shut them down. Okay. So last night we bombed Gaza rather heavily. I understand we dropped something like 14 buildings simultaneously within a minute. Now that should have scared them, but it scared the Gaza civilians, I'm sure, but it doesn't scare a psychopath. Okay? It doesn't scare crazy terrorists that are on the U.S. terrorist list, Hamas. They don't get scared. I mean, what are you going to do? I mean, so anyway, this is what it looks like is going to happen. The rockets they're using in Ashkelon and Ashdod are right, which are two cities right at the very close to the top of Gaza on the north by the Mediterranean. They're using, I believe, simple weapons, Katyusha type things that are not real sophisticated, and those can go in the portable launchers. But we haven't been able to eradicate it, and it's been a horrible experience for the communities over there as well as the communities on the east around Sderot and stuff like that, which I'll get to. So up here in the north, we had a good night. Nobody was really in shelters. People are, pretty relaxed right now. There wasn't a lot of news coming out yet. It just started to flow out in Israel, probably because everybody took advantage of getting a good night's sleep, I did, and, the day before I did too, So anyway, it appears that the plan is, although it has not been officially released, that they're going to bomb the north of Gaza rather incessantly. I mean, really heavy bomb it, okay? And if that stops the missiles, maybe that'll be the end of it, but I have a feeling they're not going to take a chance because they'll just schlep the missiles and the missile launches up from the south and central of Gaza back to the north and start up again with Ashkelon and Ashdod. And I'm sure the military is extremely aware of this. Give me a second. All right, enough. Somebody's walking on the street by the fence, and they're dead certain it's a Hamas terrorist, or it's probably somebody from the community. Okay. All right, knock it off. Hey, stop. Oh, the person has a dog. They're not stopping. They're definitely convinced the dogs are terrorists. Okay. They'll calm down in a second. All right, it's over. All right, so it looks very possible. I won't say 100%, it's not announced, but it looks pretty possible that there's going to be a land invasion in the north of Gaza. We got to shut that down. Now, a land invasion means our troops are going to stay there for some time. They're not going to go in and the next day go home. And that is going to turn off the missiles coming into Ashdod and Ashkelon. That's the way it looks now. I know 2 days ago they said, no, we're delaying the invasion. Yeah, but then right after they said that, Hamas started pouring the rockets onto Ashkelon and Ashdod. So while they haven't announced it yet, the fact that they dropped the leaflets means maybe the leaflets were just because they're going to do intensive bombing over there, or it could also extremely likely be they're going to do intensive bombing over there to soften the target up, like a Normandy invasion or something like that, and then we're going to go in. Now, it'll be brutal because we have to go into basements, go door to door, room to room, rooftops, look in cars, look under cars, look in shops, look in trucks, look in factories, sewers if they even have them in Gaza. You know, we have to look everywhere for them, for they'll be hiding, okay? And they could be nuts in the jihadist terrorists pop up and try shooting a platoon, which will just turn around and mow them down, but they might wound or injure one or two soldiers, and that's a very severe threat. So we're going to go in with armor. Special forces will go in first. Israel has 42 special forces units. It could be 44, I forget the exact number. And they're all very real. They're all extensively trained, like a year, you know. And I'm talking, these are like recon Marines, Navy SEALs, serious people. They train for fighting in mountains, in cities, in deserts, water. The Shayelet is our Navy SEAL equivalent. They're very, very good. I used to know one years ago when I worked for a kibbutz. He sat in the desk next to me. We don't select our special forces based on being able to run 7 miles with a 40-pound pack and, take a deep ocean swim of 7 miles. And, we don't go by physical endurance. This is what a lot of people don't understand. Sure, the guy's going to have to be able to go on a 2 or 3 mile run, maybe a little longer, but we're not looking for a large amount of pull-ups or push-ups and sit-ups. You got to be in adequate shape. But the way they are is like if they're in the wilderness someplace doing a reconnaissance mission and a platoon, let's say there's two of them, and a platoon of the enemy comes along and decides to camp and spend the night, 30 or 50 feet away from them where they're hiding in the bushes. They're cool, calm cookies, and they'll just sit there all night and wait for them to leave. They're put in there their multitasking ability is very important to get into these units. It's not, let's see how much, like Navy SEALs is extremely heavy physical endurance. And then after you get through that, they call it Hell Week. Then they start training them in actual fighting, This is not the type of thing that is so relevant to the Israelis. It's multitasking. How could they think on the fly when a lot of stuff when the eggs are hitting the fan, multiple eggs, then they got to be able to think. So it's a different thing. Are they effective? They're extremely effective. Can they shoot like Navy SEALs? Oh, of course they can. Look, I must have fired 100,000 rounds from guns in my day. I'm sure I've owned 100 guns. I don't have, when I was in America. And I don't, get into, I know a lot about guns, okay? I've taken sophisticated gun training courses in the private sector. I was a deputy sheriff as a kid. I know a lot about guns, okay? And these guys in Navy SEALs and Green Berets, they're all going to shoot extremely efficiently. There's always going to be a guy or two that's like a ninja or a samurai, and he's going to be able to draw and put 4 bullets in the target before the other guys put 2. People like that exist. They got 20/10 vision. They got extremely great reflexes, and but that's not what we're looking for. Okay, and the same with our pilots. The pilots got to have good vision and good physical endurance to take the G-forces, but we're looking for guys and gals now that can multitask. That's the big thing. They don't panic. They don't freeze. They don't lock up. They don't do a Tom Cruise Maverick in the first movie. This is what we're after. So, okay, moving along. The ground invasion is probably what's going to happen. Today's Friday in Israel. Probably Saturday night after Shabbat. I'm guessing was Sunday. I don't know. I don't know. Um, and that's of course going to light up, Egypt, Hezbollah, Iran, and who knows who else, right? Um, and what the plan would be, in my estimation, studying this stuff for a number of years, is they would occupy the north. Then we would close off the north. Now, if the Gazans do evacuate, they can go down to the south, and they'll probably eventually try to push into Egypt, but Egypt doesn't want them. They're human shields for the Hamas. Egypt has already said they don't want them. They don't want them. Will they take them on a humanitarian basis? If they do, they're going to be extremely mad at Israel. So after we do the north, the next thing will be, because they're hurting the south, Sderot in that area, Sderot. We'll probably do a reproduction of the same thing coming in from the east, following a large bombing campaign that'll probably go for 24 hours nonstop, soften them up. And when we come in from the east, we'll also come in from the north that's already occupied. Okay? And from the south of Gaza, there's not a lot of damage they can do to Israel, because the vast majority of their rockets are just simplex Katyushas and don't have, they go 10, 12 miles, best case, they don't have the ability to reach out and get us. Okay, so when we hit them, we'll be hitting them from the east, then the second time, and from the north. And then when the timing's right, our special forces will come in from the sea, the Shalit first, and they'll do some strategic work. So the only way that Hamas will be able to run is to go to the Mediterranean or go to Egypt. And Sisi in Egypt, the last thing he wants in his backyard, in his own country, is Hamas. I mean, he needs that like a hole in the head, and he knows it. And Hamas isn't going to walk in wearing Hamas flags. They're going to come in like, poor civilians, and then they'll regroup, and then Egypt might have a problem. So he's pretty careful about stuff like this. This is the way it looks now. Okay? Now, Hezbollah has been threatening the Americans again. They've been saying, we'll turn your aircraft carrier into a submarine. Oh, my gosh. And Biden is, not going to take this sitting down. Okay? They occasionally send a drone into Israel, shoot a missile into Israel, and we return fire. It goes back and forth, but the fighting is not that intense or heavy. So Hezbollah is just trying to remind us, we got an army at his border over there with Lebanon, and they're trying to keep us at bay. The Americans told Israel that they are going to take care of Hezbollah. They said, they used it soft. They said, let us take care of it. I don't know if Israel's going to allow that or not. Israel has to show hard force to these terrorists. That's the only thing they're going to respond to. And if it looks like, well, we went crying to America and America came over here and bailed us out, when America leaves, they're not going to stay here forever. When they leave, it'll start right up again. So I think the Americans understand that too. So I think it's going to be a joint effort. Nasrallah did a news broadcast. He's the Hezbollah guy, and he said that he got the weapons from Iran and Russia. So, I mean, he implicated Russia. So Russia's getting dragged into this thing slowly but surely. And Iran up to their eyeballs. So the Iranian foreign minister was traveling around yesterday. He went to Beirut, Lebanon. He couldn't land in Syria because we blew up 3 airstrips while his plane was en route, so he had to reroute. So it looks like Iran's running around telling them, we don't know what. Hang on, the time's not right, but it's coming. Or he could be saying we're on our way, or he could be saying we put $300 million in your bank account tonight. I don't know. I don't know. Okay? And I don't think anybody knows. And, Iran lies a lot. So they can go in there and they can say blah, 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 and, shore up Hamas and Hezbollah and get them excited and then do nothing. Okay, what are the other big events here? UK newspaper released photos of the horrific, horrible Auschwitz-type scenes that were found when the Israeli army went into the south after the... Shut up! After the terrorist invasion back on Saturday. Shut up, now! There's nothing out there. Beulah, come here. Come here. Come here or shut up. Sit down. You're barking at nothing. So, they're cementing themselves in. Look, threatening the United States is idiotic. On my Telegram channel, I put up some pictures and announcement from, I think the guy calls his Twitter account Navy War Camp. He has webcams located by Navy bases in America. And he gets pictures of Navy ships going in and going out, which is public information. Anybody can see it. And he puts it up on his Twitter so you can see the ship movement. From Norfolk, Virginia and San Diego, the American warship movement in the last 3 days, I guess, has been very, very high. I looked through it. Very high. And the third aircraft carrier group coming to Israel left already. It left yesterday. The ship is called the George Washington. It recently completed a 15-month dry dock where they brought it up to modern standards. It's an older Nimitz-class nuclear aircraft carrier, and it's chugging over here now, too. So the second aircraft carrier was officially announced, which is the Dwight D. Eisenhower, and it's en route now. If I'm going to guess, when's it going to show up? Sunday or Monday. And we are hearing from a lot of channels now that are not that quiet at all that there's a third one coming. Now, the third one may not moor offside Israel, right outside Israel. It might go to the Persian Gulf. Now, we read yesterday an official release that a squadron, however many planes it was not disclosed accurately, of the A-10 Warthogs was sent into the UAE. They landed already. The UAE is on the Persian Gulf near Oman. The opening of the Persian Gulf area is called the Sea of Oman. And everybody knows that eventually Iran's going to start increasing their attacks on merchant marine vessels, which could be grain ships, container ships, oil tankers, anything, cars, clothing, as they see fit. So right now there's 3 American warships in the Persian Gulf, which is not that many, okay? Persian Gulf is big, okay? 3 is not a lot, all right? So what does the A-10 Warthog do? It's not a very fast plane. It goes, I think, under 500 miles an hour. It is not a stealth plane at all, and it's not a bomber. What it has in the front of the plane is an amazing Gatling gun. for lack of a better word. Some might refer to it as a minigun. It's a 7-barrel gun that fires 3,900 rounds a minute. I think it's 60-something rounds a second. 65, I think. 65 bullets a second. It's a 20-millimeter shell. The shells run about 1 pound in weight. Okay? Now, these guns don't work well on the more modern tanks. The tanks with reactive armor and heavily plated, going back 20, 25 years, or even more, they're not that effective. If you're going to go to maybe Vietnam era tanks, it'll be effective on older tanks. So it's not a tank killer. What it is it's a ground troop support aircraft, predominantly. And what that means is it's like Grand Central Station here in front of my house. I don't understand that. It helps ground troops if they get into trouble. They're surrounded and this and that. You got to understand that this thing carries a lot of bullets. It's some kind of metallic dwarfs. It dwarfs a 50 caliber. And a 50 caliber dwarfs like a 30-06, which dwarfs a 357, These things are huge. You could pick one of these up and clobber some guy in the head and knock him out, These are huge. Now, they have different configurations of these things. They got armored piercing, incendiary, tracer, just solids and everything else. What are they doing with these things? Okay. America knows they got to put more ships in the Persian Gulf. I'm not so sure they're going to put an aircraft carrier there because Iran can, left alone, take down an aircraft carrier. How? They have at least 1,500 go-fast boats. These boats are about 50 to 70 feet. They vary, they're different. Basically civilian vessels converted. Like a good-sized fishing boat or something like that. They put torpedo launchers on the thing that shoot the torpedo into the water off the deck. So they got to aim the torpedo with the boat, point the boat at the target, and the torpedo should hit it. Now, you've got jihadists on these things that are going to risk their life to do this. They usually put a 50 caliber gun on the boat. They rivet it in on a stand, and they can put small missile launchers on the boat. They can have a small mortar on the boat, and they could definitely carry shoulder-fired missiles and RPGs. They have armor-piercing RPGs. Now, it's not easy to sink an aircraft carrier with a boat like this. It's extremely difficult, if at all possible. But let's break it down, okay? If you send 65 of these go-fast boats after one aircraft carrier, now the aircraft carrier is in serious jeopardy. Will the escort vessels be able to protect it? Well, they're also in serious jeopardy, but they have missiles, and hitting a go-fast boat that can swerve and move around, and you're going to have a pretty good missile that's going to track the thing, okay? They could put 50 caliber guns on the decks of these boats, which they probably have. If you have 6 of these guns on each side of the aircraft carrier spraying bullets in wholesale quantities, making a wall of lead, it's going to definitely impede and interfere with the boats. They're going to sink a lot of them, but all they need is one to get through, or one to get close enough to fire torpedoes and shoot missiles at the boat. Now, if 15 of the boats get through, let's say they send 100, 15 get through, they're going to severely damage the aircraft carrier. In addition, at the same time they send these boats, they're going to send drones, a large amount of drones. Now, Aircraft carriers have 3 or 4 depending on the carrier, 3 or 4 phalanx guns. A phalanx gun is similar to the A-10 Warthog gun, but not quite as robust and as fast, maybe as robust. I think it has 5 or 6 barrels, and the rate of fire is probably down to about 3,200 rounds a minute or something like that. It's really good, and it can go 5 miles, and it sprays a wall of bullets up in front of the incoming projectile, a drone, a rocket, a missile, a mortar, whatever, even an artillery shell, and it shreds it. So the drones attacking an aircraft carrier or a destroyer or something like that, which also has phalanxes, they probably have 2, they're going to be able to shred them, okay? But you see, the phalanx gun is designed to shoot at an aerial target. It's not positioned, the aircraft carriers are quite wide, it's not positioned to shoot down into the water when boats are nearby. The angles are wrong. They can't shoot them in a way that'll hit the boat. They're blocked from doing that so you don't have an accident. So they'll hit, they can't use them against incoming boats. And that's what the A-10 AWACS are there for. If the American fleet that's going to be brought there pretty quick, I expect, gets into trouble, the AWACS are nearby and they'll come bail them out. They just turn these Gatling guns on and they're computer controlled, they expect, and they spray the boats at an incredible rate of speed. If the boat puts 1/4 of a second, you remember these are computer controlled, 1/4 of a second burst on one of these boats, it'll be flying out of the water in pieces. That would be roughly 15 rounds in a 60, 70-foot boat. It won't be a boat. I mean, it'll be all shredded. It'll be floating for a while anyway. It'll probably burn up and stuff. So that's why they're putting the AWACS there. The announcement was to support Israel. Well, the UAE, folks, is quite far away from Israel, okay? I mean, if you get on a jet and you go over there, you're probably looking at a 2.5, 3-hour flight. You know, I mean, it's a long way. You don't put AWACS there to protect Israel. The A-10, the Warthog. It's there for another reason, and that is the reason. So the George Washington aircraft carrier is probably going to be in the Persian Gulf or down by the Sea of Oman, which is where the Persian Gulf dumps into the oceans. So they could try to control things, but I think they're going to have to put it in the Persian Gulf. And the Pentagon came up with a plan to protect it. And it'll be there with escort vessels and destroyers, missile cruisers, it could have patrol boats, submarines, I don't know. Does Iran have any kind of navy that can attack? Nah, forget it. They don't got nothing. That you don't have to worry about. They're worried about these other kind of attacks, not being attacked by naval vessels, except the go-fast boats. That's what's trouble. So. That means America is bringing a large amount of firepower into the area. Okay. Very large. Each of these escort vessels holds 64 missiles, Tomahawk missiles that are 500-pound warhead, and they got an incredibly long range, and they're highly accurate and they're smart. They're countermeasures. None of these countries in the Middle East are going to be able to shoot it down. I don't believe Russia or China can shoot it down. So the war is definitely growing, and it's going to keep getting bigger and bigger. That's for sure. When we do invade Gaza, it's going to probably light up Hezbollah. Iran will put a lot of pressure on them. Syria quieted down. Bashar Assad is living in an underground bunker now. He's afraid. But there are Iranian troops in Iran, and I suspect that they're there to attack small American bases in Iran and Iraq, or maybe the U.S. is just by the border, maybe not be in Iraq. They've been attacking them for months already with mortars and rockets. They haven't been very successful. these bases that the Americans set up are not, with 5,000 guys or anything like that. They're probably 100, 300, not very big. Um, Iran has threatened to kill them, specifically. Okay. Is Iran out of their mind enough to do this? Probably. What will the American administration do about this? It's the inevitable. They're going to invade Iran. They're going to attack Iran. I don't know if they'll invade it. They're going to attack Iran. They're going to disable it. So the Biden administration made it perfectly clear that Iran's not getting any of this frozen sanction money for some time. Probably never. Prisoner release of the hostages, nothing going on with that. The Americans have special forces teams here that are specialists in hostage rescuing. I don't know what's going to happen. It's a really difficult thing. The hostages are probably in 10 or 15 different locations. And Hamas would make a point of making sure that the hostages can be killed quickly and easily and efficiently as soon as Americans try to invade the location containing the hostages. I don't have any doubt about that. So that's a problem, and I don't know how to solve it. I don't know if they do. I mean, they'll probably come up with something, but I don't know. If you want to join me on Telegram, I update it usually twice an hour. You'll get a lot of videos, a lot of photos, a lot of breaking news all day and into the evening when I'm awake. Just send me an email, israelgiving with number 7 at gmail.com. You got to download the app, Telegram Messenger, and then I'll send you the invite link. My email address is in the bottom of the description box, and I send my shalom to all those who love Yeshua HaMashiach, and I'll be updating during the day. So make sure you subscribe and you have the notification